Radiant family, it's Pastor Manny with your elementary lesson overview. Now, this video is part 2 of a 2-part series. We had a 1-week lesson the previous week that talked about the Trinity. It's a great subject that is not always easy to understand, and so you want to have that family discussion before we talk about this next lesson series that's going to be 4 weeks long regarding the Holy Spirit. Talking about the Trinity and understanding that all 3 parts of one, our God, is super important for this next phase. Now, this lesson overview, we are going to dive into 4 weeks of the Holy Spirit and how this applies to you. Now, remember, these videos are being made so that we can make our homes stronger. We know that spiritual formation begins first and foremost in the home. And so we want to partner with you to develop strong kids that know who Jesus is and live out their faith. So let's get into today's lesson. We're going to talk for the next 4 weeks about the Holy Spirit and what that means. In particular, we're going to talk about the fact that in week 1, the Holy Spirit is here to help me. Now, this is something that, life is hard for our kids, and if I would guess, sometimes even for you. And the reminder that the Holy Spirit is here to help us is critical in making it through life. Can you imagine not having Jesus in your life? Well, the better part is Jesus is not only in your life, but that he gifts us the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is that part that never leaves us or forsakes us. So we're going to go into the story about Jesus promising a helper in Acts chapter 1 and 2. And in that Bible story, which you can open up at home before the lesson and talk about, it reminds us that Jesus had to ascend so that he could send the Holy Spirit to earth. It's a powerful lesson and an amazing reminder in our day-to-day as we live this life with the Holy Spirit. But we're not done there. Week 2, we're going to continue talking about how the Holy Spirit gives us power. Now, I want you at home to talk about what this means, because we're in a world of Marvel comics and DC superheroes, and we can get confused in thinking that that's the kind of power that the Holy Spirit wants to give us. No, that is not the kind of idea that the Holy Spirit wants to infuse in us. We will get the power to be bold, to be courageous, to speak out in faith, and to declare things in faith like healing, miracles, signs, and wonders by the prompting of the Holy Spirit. But this kind of power isn't the kind of power that we can conjure up. It's an intimacy with God that lets us hear his voice. So when he wants to do something dramatic and miraculous, we hear it and are bold enough to move in faith. Now, I'm sharing this because I want this to become alive in you first before you share it with your kids, so that when you do share it at home, this starts to stir something inside of you that you can put this to action. You might want to ask yourselves, how can we demonstrate God's power through the Holy Spirit in our lives this week? But we're not done yet. Week 3, we're going to go into the spiritual gifts and how God, through his Holy Spirit, gifts us the ability to do things that are outside of our human capacity. So we're going to go into Acts chapter 6, and we're going to see how the apostles get some help from the Holy Spirit. There's different kinds of spiritual gifts, and we're going to talk about that. And so I want you to open up the scriptures during this time and explore with your children, what does that mean? What are the spiritual gifts present in your home, and how can you activate it? Are you full of mercy? Are you a giver? Do you feel like you're prophetic? The spiritual gifts are something that the Holy Spirit gives us so that we can put it into action and live out our faith at home, in our neighborhoods, at our workplaces, and develop these testimonies, because it's by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony as we act out in faith through the power of the Holy Spirit. But again, we're not done. There's going to be a 4th week. And in that 4th week, we're going to talk about how I will listen and obey what the Holy Spirit says. Everything hinges on that, whether it's our kids or you and I. We have to have the ability to hear what the Holy Spirit says and then obey. And I love this lesson because it obviously trickles into your home as a parent and teaching your children. You are the first example of who God is to your children, and teaching them that they need to listen and obey teaches them how to respond to Jesus as they grow older. How to respond to the Holy Spirit and its promptings, the Holy Spirit's promptings inside of us when the Holy Spirit speaks to us. We're going to learn from the verse in Galatians 5:25. It says, "Let us follow the Spirit's leading in every part of our lives." Now, as parents, as leaders, we need to live out the lessons we're teaching. And so again, part of the reason for all of this is to bring it to you so you can make it come alive in your home. And yes, I want to challenge you to ask yourself, am I living out this faith before I teach it to my kids? Because we all know it's not what's taught, but it's what's caught through the examples that are given in us. So I'm excited to see how these lessons come alive in your home. Please share, like, comment. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. This is where we post all of our content. If you're watching on Facebook, check us out at Radiant Kids on YouTube. This is where all our materials are. And by the way, there's also kid lessons that you can use as resources in your home. We want to equip you as moms and dads, as the keepers of your home, as the spiritual heads of your family, to know that God has trusted you with his message to his children. And he has empowered you. You are good enough because he called you to be there for them. Thank you so much for your time. Please send some feedback. I'd love to hear how this applies in your home, and I can't wait to talk to you again.